This video will talk about our QANTA system. Question answering is not a trivial activity for submitting your systems to compete in our question answering competitions where computers and humans can take on each other to see who is best at answering questions. While this video will focus on how computers can play Quiz Bowl online, humans can also do this as well. If you go to QBlitz, you as a human can see the same questions that we're showing to computers. We will use the human results from this online competition to compare how well computers versus humans do at these tasks. So let me give a quick high-level overview of how the overall interaction works between our computer moderator and submitted systems. So the submitted systems register in the competition, and then the moderator says, "Okay, user 1, I see that you want to play. I'm now going to ask you some questions." And the moderator says, "Alright, I'm going to ask you questions 1, 2, 3, and 4. We start with question 1, and the moderator says, "Alright, the first word of question 1 is extremism." The submitted system needs to decide, is that enough information for me to answer this question or not? And so they'll say, "No, I don't have enough information to answer, so I'll wait to hear more." Then the moderator says, "Okay, we're going to show you a little bit more of the question. The next word is in." Then the system says, "I still don't have enough information to answer. Let me see another word." Then the moderator gives another word. The next word of the question is the, and then the system says, "Alright, I think I can answer the question now. The answer is Barry Goldwater." And it will answer with the Wikipedia page that it thinks corresponds to the correct answer. And so then the moderator will move on to the next question, and the process repeats. Once you have submitted your systems, the score of your system will appear on our leaderboard at leaderboard.quanta.org. The metrics that we show are the accuracy at the end of the first sentence, the accuracy at the end of the entire question, and how you would fare against humans. We've talked about the interaction at a high level. Let's drill down a little bit more into the details about how the questions are asked and how the questions are answered. All of the interactions are going to be in the form of JSON strings. This is what an answer looks like. So the moderator will pose a question in the form of an HTTP post request. And it will say, "Who invented general and special relativity?" as, say, a question. And then your system needs to implement a server that will take that request and then reply, "I wouldn't buzz, but my guess of what the answer would be is Albert Einstein." The questions are also posed in the form of JSON strings. The elements of this string are, what's the ID of the question, how much of the question has been revealed. And you don't need to worry about this. This is for our own bookkeeping and keeping track of how much of the question has been revealed. But unlike the previous example, this is actually going to be measured in terms of characters, not words, because words aren't the same length. And the character index will go up monotonically over time as you see more and more of the question. You'll also have a field that tells you what sentence you're on. You can use this information if it's useful to you, so that, say, you don't have to tokenize the sentences. Most importantly, we'll give you the text of the question so far, and we'll ask more and more of the question until your system is confident enough to buzz in with the answer. So that's how the moderator and the submitted systems interact with each other. How do you get your systems to interact with us? The way that this happens is through Docker. Docker allows you to send your systems to us in a portable format, and we can then run that server, posing it to Quiz Bowl questions and comparing all of the systems against each other, and also comparing the systems to humans. The individual objects that you'll send through the Docker software platform are called containers. And this comes from the metaphor of shipping containers that revolutionized world freight. So your systems are portable, they can be moved from place to place, and they'll fit into just about any Docker platform. We have an example system that implements the server architecture that you'll need to implement. It's a relatively robust but simple baseline that uses an information retrieval process to answer quiz bowl questions. You can see how we have implemented our system, and as long as you follow the same API, you can change the question answering process to whatever you want. The example code should give you everything that you need to get started. In particular, it has the following Docker commands that you can run. You can download all of the data that we provide. You can train a new model from that data. You can create a server that will respond to server requests. And you can also run the eval on the public test data. This should be everything that your system needs to do to have a properly responsive Docker container. The other major piece of software that we'll be using is something called CodaLab, which comes out of Berkeley. And CodaLab allows us to run these kinds of competitions, automatically build the leaderboard, and basically provide the overarching infrastructure that lets your Docker containers interact with data in a replicable way and allows us to run the competition and to automatically run your Docker containers so that we can evaluate the results. There are command line tools for CodaLab that you should download. Unfortunately, these are still in Python 2 as of the time I'm recording this video, so you may need to maintain multiple Python versions if you're coding in Python 3. The basic metaphor of CodaLab are packages of data or code called bundles. And so you will create a bundle that represents your system, you will upload it to CodaLab, and that can specify a Docker container that implements your system. You can also ask for a GPU if that will make it easier for your system to run. And then your code gets submitted to the official competition and your results will appear on the leaderboard. This has been a brief overview of the CodaLab, Docker, QANTA infrastructure. We don't want to put everything into a video because things change. The official resources for the details of how to participate are on QANTA.org. We link to all of the materials that I've talked about in this video, but sometimes it's easier just to have someone walk you through it so that you get an overview of the basic idea of what's going on. As I wrap up, I'd like to give a couple of hints that will hopefully make your life easier. First off, often the best way to do well in competitions like this are to use new data in simple ways or to use existing data in new ways rather than implementing the fanciest model out there. The other thing to keep in mind is that your code won't run on CodaLab immediately. When you submit your submission, it will go into a queue, and depending on how busy the servers are and how busy CodaLab is, it may take a while for that to evaluate. So be patient and don't wait until the last minute to submit your systems. There are limits on the size of the Docker containers, so be efficient in your use of data. And figure out what is holding you back from doing better on the competition. Sometimes it's your buzzer, sometimes it's generating the correct guess as quickly as possible. So figure out what it is that's holding you back. A lot of teams spend a lot of effort on things that end up being not so important. So figure out where you're having the most difficulty and make sure that you spend the most effort on that. A corollary of that is look at how your system is answering questions. Don't just look at the raw numbers that come out when you run the eval or submit to CodaLab. Actually look, how is it getting questions right? How is it getting questions wrong? Once you look at those examples, it will be fairly obvious what you need to fix for your system to work better. We hope to see your submissions soon on our leaderboard, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. We have an email address you can mail to us. We have an email address for people who want to get updates about our system. All of that is available on QANTA.org.